Boston's home for sports is 98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
It's week 5 for the New England Patriots as they welcome the Miami Dolphins to Gillette Stadium this afternoon. 1 o'clock kickoff. Pregame coverage begins at 10 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Patriots making a few changes to the roster for this one. Kendrick Bourne and Marte Mapu added to the roster yesterday off PUP and IR respectively. Defensive tackle Jaquelin Roy also signed from the practice squad. The Patriots previously had 3 open roster spots after placing players on IR. Looking at the rest of the NFL Week 5 slate, we've got a London game this morning. The Jets and Vikings get underway at 9:30. Make sure you set those fantasy lineups. In the 1 o'clock window, the big game in the AFC, the Bills visit the Texans. 4:25, the NFC has the spotlight with the Packers taking on the Rams. An interconference action tonight on NBC with the Cowboys taking on the Steelers in the late window. How about that college football slate yesterday? 5 of the top 11 teams going down, 4 to unranked teams. That included number 1 Alabama, who lost to Vanderbilt 40-35. Number 4 Tennessee lost to Arkansas 19-14. Number 9 Missouri blown out by number 25 Texas 41-10. Number 10 Michigan lost in the national championship rematch to Steve Belichick in Washington 27-17. Number 11 USC lost to Minnesota 24-17 to round out that list. And locally, Boston College lost to Virginia 24-14. In the baseball playoffs yesterday, 4 divisional round game 1s. Guardians 7-0 over the Tigers. Mets 6-2 over the Phillies. Yankees 6-5 over the Royals. Dodgers 7-5 over the Padres. The Mets, Phillies, and Padres-Dodgers series continue later today. The New England Revolution lost 2-1 at DC United last night. The Bruins played their preseason finale yesterday and lost 2-0 to the Washington Capitals. The Celtics resume their preseason today in Abu Dhabi against the Denver Nuggets. That game tips off in 2 hours, 10 a.m. tip for that one. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9 o'clock.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown turns the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Score in the foul.
Listen to home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle.
We hit, we win. We put pressure, we win. We penetrate, we win.
Getting you ready for a long day of football coverage. The Pats, league news, betting lines, and game on. This is the show that has it all covered. Sunday Kickoff, brought to you by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. Now, here are Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle.
It's week 5, people. It's Alex Barth. It's Cerrone Battle here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, October 6, 2024. As the Patriots return home after playing 3 of their first 4 games on the road. I know they played a home game a few weeks ago. I feel like I haven't been to Gillette Stadium in a long time. We'll be back there today as the Patriots take on the Dolphins. We've got a lot to get to in this edition of Sunday Kickoff. Obviously a busy week for the Patriots. How was your week, Cerrone?
It was good. I had a pretty good week. How about yourself, Alex?
I had an interesting week. Really an interesting couple days. It was one of those ones there's that like 30 Rock clip where it's like what a week that was, and it's like it's Tuesday. That was my Thursday, Friday. For people who don't know, I co-host the Catch 22 podcast with Evan Lazar on Patriots.com. I'm sure you've heard by now. Evan Lazar at the time said he thought the Patriots, if they don't start Drake May, there could be some trouble in the locker room. I wouldn't. He used the word mutiny. I wouldn't go that far. And then obviously went back and responded on the Joe Murray show later that night. It's just been a lot since then. Mm-hmm. And that sets the stage for today's game. And I'm not saying that there's mutiny afoot in the locker room. I don't think so. Again, I would not go that far. I don't think it's, party time in the locker. I don't think people are thrilled in there. But you wouldn't want guys to be happy on a 1-3 team. You don't want guys jumping for joy. To me, it's so I started covering the team in 2018. So I got to cover a team that won a Super Bowl. They start 9-0 the next year. I covered that 2021 team where the emotions were kind of higher, and then I've covered the last 2 years. To me, it's about on par what it was the last 2 years, at least early in the season. The locker room of a team that's not doing what it wants to do, as it kind of should be. You don't want guys thrilled with the results. You want guys kind of upset, using that for motivation. But that sets the stage for a winnable game today for the Patriots. They are favored, Cerrone, in this one against a banged-up Miami Dolphins team after a lot was made in the offseason that the Patriots were not favored in any of their games this season. And we said at the time, injuries happen. This is the NFL. You got to calm down. And the injuries are obviously a part of it, but this feels like a really good chance for the Patriots to get this thing back on track.
Yeah, I mean, and excuse me, to jump back on what you were just saying about the team and how they should feel, I think the story would be worse if guys were loose and free, like nothing's happening. Right. I think it'd be worse if it was party time in the locker room after being, 1-3, losing a tough one to Seattle at home, the lone home game you had. Guys should be upset. Guys should be frustrated. Guys should be trying to figure out, okay, how can we get better? How can we get a W today? And the football gods give you a third string quarterback at home. So, I mean, you get a chance to capitalize and get things right. And we all know winning cures all in sports. I mean, it covers a lot. So I think they have a great opportunity here to I wouldn't say steal a win, but earn themselves a good win at home in front of their home crowd. And look, if this thing goes south today, then we're going to have real issues in that locker room and the stands and everywhere else, parking lot. But I think I think today is a good chance I think this game came at the right time, if that makes sense. I think you couldn't ask for a better situation for this team to get themselves together. And I know we'll touch on guys coming back. Some guys went out, but some guys are coming back. So, we'll see how they are at 4:00 this afternoon. But I think today's game came right on time.
Well, we'll get, like you said, we'll get to the guys coming back, but just big picture here. You mentioned the game coming at the right time, which I think is a good way to put it, because we talked about a potential 1-3 start coming in, and maybe not in the way it ultimately played out, but they're 1-3 through a month, which is kind of what we thought. And we also noted at the time, the beginning of the schedule is probably the toughest part. And after the Dolphins, they do have the Texans next week. That gets a little bit tougher. But then you have the Jaguars. It's in London, but you have a bad Jaguars team. You have the Jets that didn't look right last week after, they beat the bag out of the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. A bad Titans team and a Bears team that it's a young team. They're going to come and go. They're not going to be consistent. They're not, going to show up the same every week. So do you feel like there's a chance here for Gerard Mayo and the coaching staff and the team to kind of make a statement that, and Mayo even said, that it's going to get better as the thing goes on, and they have a lot of moving parts, and they had some injuries start the season. Does a win today kind of springboard you into this second month where it's okay, the games are more winnable? You're going to start getting offensive linemen back. Guys are used to playing with each other. And maybe they can actually kind of shift the tone here. Or if they win today, is it just, it's Tyler Huntley?
Hey, look, when teams beat the Patriots, they didn't say, "Oh, it was just Jacoby Brissett." They took that win and held on to it.
Sure.
I mean, it's that win was a win is a win. And if this was like the NBA, NHL, or MLB with the amount of games they have, But in the NFL, every game is so precious. You don't care who it is. You're just trying to go out there and get a W. So I think this team winning this game and then going into the middle part of their season, I think is a huge boost, not only in the standings. I think it's pretty big for their morale, for their confidence. I think you got to start feeling good about something and feel like, okay, something can work. If the defense is out there turning this guy over 2 or 3 times or getting off the field, they're going to feel good about themselves going into the next games or whatever. And they're still probably going to look around and say, look, that's still Tyreek Hill. That's still Jalen Waddle. That, you know what I'm saying? There's still some talent over there, and we won that play or won this series or whatever. So it should be a boost to their confidence. And the Texans are going to be tough. But these other teams, not only are they kind of bad, Jags are bad. I don't know what's going on with Jacksonville. I thought they'd be way better than this. But the Colts have injury issues. Some of these teams they're starting to they're bad and they're getting banged up. So I think you have a chance to capitalize on these teams and do so before your injuries are just so bad you can't win anything either. But I think this does give them a good chance, a good shot in the arm going into the second month of the season. And like you said, we all thought this was going to be the time where they could capitalize over the summer. So I think things got a little easier than we thought they would have with Jacksonville and the Colts being banged up. But I think they're in a decent spot now, but the key is you have to win this game today. If they lose this one today, we're looking at that later part of the schedule. Like you're still worse than everybody else out there. So I think they're in a good spot where they can really capitalize today.
What does this game mean for Jacoby Brissett? Because you are starting to get that big external push for Drake May, and at this point it's just external, and it's worth noting that.
Yeah.
But it's going to become, players are going to get asked about it. Players are being asked about it. It's going to start, becoming a question guys get in the locker room. It's going to be something that's talked about. Obviously, it's being talked about externally, as I very much experienced this week. Do you think Jacoby Brissett can quiet that with the big game this week, or do you think at this point, the train's off the rails and this is just going to be the push until we see May?
It depends on how it looks. There's a couple of different scenarios here. They can, all of them include them winning. If they win the game and it's 10-9 and Brissett's turned it over a couple times, the crowd at home, the crowd's going to be chanting for Drake May. I think the pressure is going to really be applied on the Crafts or whoever is making these decisions. But if Jacoby Brissett, if they go out there and win it 24-10, Brissett has a couple touchdowns, he's fired up, team's fired up, the end zone militia's firing, rifles in the air, I think it buys them time. I think it's all about how, not so much the win, they got to win, first of all, but I think it all depends on how he looks in the winning. And look, for him, I know he hasn't said it, but man, I would have came out, but look, man, I had to play the Niners, I had to play the Jets defense, the Seahawks in Cincinnati, on the road, by the way. This is what happens to most quarterbacks who play those teams, who would have to play that type of lineup in a month. Yeah, I got beat up. I had a tough stretch, but the schedule lightens up. It also lightens up for him. You're not facing the same defense as you were dealing with the first month of the season. I mean, you get the Jets again, but they're a little more banged up now, I believe, than they were when they played them a couple weeks ago. But look, man, I had a tough start. I had a tough situation. Got me out here with a rookie receiver. A guy just come back off an injury. My offensive line is bad. My running back did fumble 4 times. Cut me some slack here. And I know I've been hard on Brissett, but look, he's had it tough. He's had a tough schedule. So I think it'd be good for him to have a good showing today if they win. And if he shows like he did against Seattle and they have a decent game, I think it buys them some time. But he can't go out there and have a game like he had against the Niners, against his Dolphins team, and lose it. Then he might as well go on and sit down himself.
Well, he'll get some help in this game. The Patriots' best receiver will be on the field today, has not been on the field through the first 4 weeks of the season. We'll touch on that. Some of the guys coming back from IR, PUP next, the kind of impact they'll make. Plus, your call, 617-779-0985 at Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle, and Ryan Beaton.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up. season in Florida as they face off against their playoff nemesis and Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Pre-game with Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers starts at 6:30. Face-off is at 7. Bruins hockey is back. And you'll hear all the games right here from regular season through the playoffs. This is your home of the Boston Bruins. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
He begins the approach with a run-up and a swing right leg.
Every football game starts with a kickoff. This is Sunday.
And now it's very positive.
Good one, Ryan. Kendrick Bourne running back onto the field today at Gillette Stadium. He was activated by the team yesterday. It will be his first game in just over 11 months. He tore his ACL actually against this Miami Dolphins team at the end of October last year after getting off to an amazing start. What a few years it's been in New England for Kendrick Bourne. Cerrone comes in as kind of an under-the-radar part of that massive 2021 free agency class for the Patriots. And when you talk about pass catchers in that class, obviously they brought in 2 tight ends and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Nelson Aguilar was the higher paid receiver. Mm-hmm. And then Bourne just kind of comes in, went on a tear, had like a 10-week tear in that 2021 season where he was on a 1,000-yard pace and really was building some great chemistry with Mac Jones before he got COVID, and that kind of disrupted him for the rest of the season. Comes in with a ton of hype the next year, and after a fight in a training camp practice, gets in Matt Patricia's doghouse and never gets out. I mean, there were games where he was playing 3 or 4 snaps. Do you remember the opener? That year, he only played, it was against the Dolphins again. He only played 2 snaps, and one of them was like a 50-something yard pass completion down the sideline. I think the other one he had a catch too. Comes back last year, back on the field, back in the rotation, has a really strong start to the season. In 8 games, he caught 37 passes for 406 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then tears ACL against Miami.
Yeah.
Now coming back, 29 years old, off this tear, trying to get back into shape. When Kendrick Bourne is healthy, the Kendrick Bourne we saw last year is the Patriots' best receiver, and I don't think it's necessarily that close. Now, Jalen Polk's gotten off to a good start here, but he's played just 4 games in the NFL, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Coming back off a torn ACL is tough, and a lot of the times it's 1 year removed, right, that you really get back into shape. But the Patriots need what Kendrick Bourne can give them. An explosive receiver who can create separation, make plays after the catch, is good with the ball in his hands. You can run some quicker concepts, some scheme touch things for him. They need to get him involved early and often today and just see where his knee's at. And if it doesn't hold up, it doesn't hold up. But I would get him involved. My first play, if I'm Alex Van Pelt in this game, is some sort of pop pass, jet sweep, end around, etc.
Get him in the field.
Right, just get Kendrick Bourne on the outside in space one-on-one with the defender. I'm very excited to watch him today.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that he adds when he comes back that I think some people might overlook when he comes back, let's say the defense doesn't know how healthy or good he really is. So I think they're going to treat him like he's the best guy on the field. So he's going to see the best DB. Now that best corner, as opposed to being on Polk or Pop Douglas, is now on Bourne, and it drops everybody else down to, now Pop Douglas might have a little more freedom of separation because he's not dealing with the number 1 guy, or Jalen Polk now, he's not dealing with the best DB on the best corner across from him. So now it kind of gives them, I would say, an advantage. But I don't know if the guy's going to play or not today, but you don't have Pop Douglas trying to shake Jalen Ramsey as opposed to somebody else. It kind of frees everybody else up. So I think that's a good pickup for them, getting a guy like that back on the field. It's a confidence booster, something I think they all need. And I agree with you. Early and often in that game, I'm trying to, like you said, wide receiver screen, jet sweep, something to get him involved, get him touching the ball, a quick slant, something like that, just to get him involved, see how he's doing, and get the crowd into it. Because say he comes out there and catches a slant, takes it 20 yards, gets shoved out of bounds, whatever. Crowd's on their feet, they're cheering, everybody's feeling good about themselves. I think he provides a boost to everybody in the stands, on the field, to the quarterback, to the offensive line. Everybody gets a boost by having that kind of talent come back on the field, and I'm trying to get him going early and often.
Same, and you mentioned Pop Douglas there. They shuffled receivers a lot at the beginning of the season, and I understand why they did it, and I'm not saying that was wrong. You were kind of banged up. You had young guys. You want to see what you have. To me, that, I don't want to say that like ends today, but Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, Pop Douglas.
That's it, yeah.
That, mix in Tyquan Thornton a little bit. Just give those guys a rest. I don't really need to see Kayshon Boutte. I don't really need to see Javon Baker. I don't think KJ Osborne's going to play today. He didn't practice all week. Those guys usually don't play. Even if he does play, even if he's active, don't need to see a ton of him. I think you stick, again, Bourne and Polk, and you can rotate those guys at the X and the Z. And then when you go in 11, Pop Douglas. I think those are your receivers today for at least 80% of the snaps.
And that might be your group of guys going forward. I mean, I don't know how healthy Osborne's going to be going, after today. But I think that three is what we kind of wanted all summer. I think that's what we were looking forward to when everybody's healthy. And look, I think you have your opportunities to, go four wide, whatever, when Osborne's back and whatever they're going to do with Thornton. You see a lot of stories out there about him. But I think this is what we wanted to see early on. I think this is what we wanted to see combined with the tight ends that they have in the running game. And I think they need to streamline this thing and kind of get back to basics and fundamentals without trying to get too complicated with this offense. And I think today is a good way to get back on track. And like I said, see where this guy's at, man. See what he can do and see what he does to the playbook. Let's see what the play calling looks like now that he's out there. I just want to see how this whole thing looks with everybody back out there. I know they still got the issues up front, but again, I think this is a game that you can get right. I think you're going to have a lot of opportunities, a lot of possessions, and I think you can play some good football today offense. I'm saying they can score 30 points, but can look better than they've looked the last 2 weeks, if that makes sense.
I'll add this, too. You mentioned Bourne getting the crowd going. This is why Ryan Beaton, our producer, is the best, because I forgot to send this, or I should have sent it to him last night. I didn't even think to. This was Kendrick Bourne this week when asked about getting back on the field in front of the Patriots fans.
When I get my first catch, I need y'all to scream out, boom.
There you go.
So there you go. If you're going to the game today, Kendrick Bourne's first catch, that's what he's looking for. I was talking about this week. He said he likes Cooper Kupp, who was his teammate in college, right? Coop, they'll do in LA. I was talking about, does it sound too much like booing? And it's like we had Uke and Took here in Boston for a long time, so I think he'll be fine with that. One other player the Patriots will get back today is Marte Mapu. Obviously, very interesting player, drafted last year, linebacker in college, but 210-pound, east to west, hybrid, money backer type of player. The Patriots went about turning him into a safety, and he played sparingly last year. It certainly felt at the time like he was drafted as a replacement, getting a year ahead of Kyle Duggar, whose contract was up. That was Bill Belichick's plan, obviously. Things changed. Now, Kyle Duggar's hurt, and I don't think he's going to play in this game. Like I said with KJ Osborne, usually you don't practice all week. You don't play.
Yeah.
Duggar's another player who didn't practice this week. Jabril Pepper's already been ruled out, so they're going to need Mapu at safety. He'll probably play a lot of box safety with Jalen Hawkins on the back end. Del Pettis is going to play a big role in this game as well. But this is a big spot for Marte Mapu against a mobile quarterback. This is a guy that kind of has the prototype to not necessarily neutral. I don't want to use the word neutralize, but like he can be a chess piece against a mobile quarterback like Tyler Huntley, and a guy that, there was a big spotlight on that pick because it was like, are the Patriots going to start doing things differently defensively? Is a different approach? That kind of player wasn't necessarily major need when there were other needs on the board, and then kind of is relegated to special teams his rookie year, and now here he comes. Big spot today for Marte Mapu.
Yeah, it is. I think he has an opportunity to make big plays. I think if he does, again, that's somebody else that gets the crowd going. I think they need a lot of help, but I think he has a chance to make some big plays. But at the same time, I watched a little bit of Dolphins games last week, and
people still are going to try to tell me the NFL is a better product than college football.
Yeah, no, not. How can you say it after yesterday? But anyway, last couple of weeks, Georgia Bama was still the wildest game I've seen in a long time. But last week, Huntley missed throws, but there was still opportunities where Tyreek Hill probably could have had 4 touchdowns where the safeties kind of fell asleep and was thinking, Huntley, he is not going to do this, not going to do that. And the defense kind of was sleeping a little bit, and Tyreek Hill got behind those safeties, and he just missed the throws. It had to be 3-4 times.
Yeah.
So I think while we want Mapu to do his thing and try and put pressure on a mobile quarterback when he gets out and tries to scramble around or whatever, we have to still be careful. They have to still be careful. That's still Tyreek Hill back there, and he's still getting behind these safeties. The quarterback's just missing. You don't want to be the game where they get right. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be, because you're cheating or you're watching something or trying to get cute, where you get beat deep by this team, and the next thing you know, you're down 14-0 or 10-3 or something crazy like that. So I want to see him be more aggressive, but at the same time, the Patriots safeties can't fall asleep against this team, because I think that's the only way they can beat you is if you're not careful and get burnt on the back end.
And the reality is, one big play could decide this game. Like, this is going to be, and this is kind of my big take, and it could happen on either side of the ball. It could happen on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
But points are going to be at a premium here. Whether it's, letting Huntley get outside the pocket with his legs, and they've obviously had a big problem containing quarterbacks. Coaching staff talked a lot about this week. Whether it's him actually connecting with Tyreek Hill on one of these deep balls, I think if either defense puts up a touchdown, that team's probably going to win the game. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami lets Tyreek Hill return some punts today.
Yeah, just give him
especially
a feel.
Since Braxton Barrett's a good returner, but he's banged up. He's on the injury report this week.
Mm-hmm.
One big play like that can absolutely swing this game, and when you're limited at safety like the Patriots are, that becomes a factor. By the way, the one player who was eligible to be activated for today but wasn't is linebacker Cerrone Taki. He'll really help in replacing some of what they've lost at linebacker with Juwan Bentley, but obviously without him today, you wonder if maybe Mapu at least sometimes plays a little closer to the line of scrimmage. All right, we'll talk more about this. We'll talk more about the situation inside the Patriots locker room. Karen Guregian actually wrote about that this week for Mass Live. We'll talk to her next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff.
employee on a team review show yesterday said he felt the team was teetering on a mutiny as a goal. Understanding what that means, have players demonstrated to you they want a change in leadership and or openly defied your orders or those of your coaches?
Look, my focus is definitely on the Dolphins, 100%, and the guys in the locker room. So I haven't heard that, and I mean, that's journalism for you. I'm not sure.
It was from the team, so I wanted to check with another team employee here.
No, like I said, I haven't heard that, and try not to pay attention to that stuff. So you got to ask him.
Oh, Karen, hello.
That was Gerard Mayo on Friday responding to the mutiny comment made by Evan Lazar on that team-produced podcast, by the way, Catch 22, with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth. We now welcome in Karen Guregian from Mass Live, who actually wrote about the mood inside the Patriots locker room this week. Very timely, Karen. Good morning.
Hey, Alex. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And yeah, I had something cooking up about the mood in the locker room, and or if Gerard had lost a room, and then Catch 22 happened.
It's funny how that works out, right? So people can go to masslive.com and read what Karen wrote, but just what can you share with us? Any added context? Any more on kind of what you learned about what the vibe is after the 1-3 start?
Well, as I said, I was kind of making my way around the room to trying to talk privately with guys to get a read on whether Gerard had lost or was losing the room. And the reason for that, as it was brought up, I'm pretty sure by Greg Bedard of the Sports Journal, and he, his rationale was, all the teaching points that they were harping on, setting the edge, and like last week and like the very first series against the 49ers, Brock Purdy got around the edge like 3 times for, it's like, aren't they listening? And other type of things, receivers stomping on the ground because they were open and not getting the ball. And it just seemed like to, Greg and perhaps others, that it was chaotic. And if it's chaotic, you go back to the head coach. So that was kind of the backdrop. And so I made my way around to some of the more trusted players in the room and just basically laid it out, true or false. Has Gerard lost you guys? And the answers were interesting in terms of I got one veteran to say, no, that's like way false. Another said, as I said, I tried to get guys on the offense and defense. Another guy said, that's bull bleep. Can you say that word on here?
You can say it the way you said it. You're good.
And when I approached Jabril Peppers, and when I said, okay, I said, you can answer me on or off the record. He said, well, what's the question? I asked the question. He says, on the record. And then he proceeded to talk about things. Yes, it looks, guys, our body language isn't good. This isn't good, so on and so forth. He said, but there's no way that Gerard's lost the room. So, and he was adamant that he would never lose the room. But anyway, and then, the mutiny talk came mostly after I had the whole thing written. So I sort of had to segue that into what I wrote.
Well, the question I would ask is, how much of this, I mean, are we overlooking the fact that this is coming after you lost to the basically a healthy Niners team on the road in San Francisco? Like, wouldn't most teams be frustrated and stomping the ground after playing the Niners in San Francisco? Like, I think we're overlooking the opponent. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, Cerrone. No, I think the better word is like frustration. Mm-hmm. I think I was saying this actually to somebody else, a fellow writer. I think members of the defense in particular thought that they were going to be good enough and they were going to show people that, they weren't going to go winless, that they were going to do a lot better than people thought, okay, or had forecast. And I think there is frustration with the fact that they're 1-3 after such a good start. I think they're frustrated by losing, certain players, not just your run-of-the-mill players. I mean, Christian Barmore was going to be a significant piece. Jawan Bentley, kind of the nerve center of that defense. All of their left tackles, whether they were good or not, one by one out the door. And I think it's more frustration because I think this team behind Gerard Mayo wanted to basically shut people up and have a much better season than anyone had forecast.
So a lot of this too circles around at least the comments from Thursday around the quarterback position and how players may view how the team is handling the switch from Jacoby Brissett to Drake May. I'm not going to ask you to go inside the mind of the players and what they think about it, but I guess just when do you think we see that switch, and do you think potentially losing today or getting off to a 1-4, 1-5 start could expedite that process?
Well, actually, I wrote something today. I spoke with quarterbacks coach T.C. McCartney Friday, and he, I asked him directly, if the players came to you guys and said, hey, we want Drake, how would you respond to that? And he prefaced the answer by saying that kind of pressure doesn't exist right now. So it hasn't gotten to the point where the players are basically saying, we'd like to see Drake over Jacoby because Drake's doing great in practice. That hasn't happened yet, if you believe the quarterback coach. But I do think, based on how Drake has been progressing, and if Jacoby, he was fine the first couple games, but after getting knocked around, I think that's starting to impact him in terms of not seeing the field, not seeing receivers, basically taking off perhaps a little before he needs to take off. So I think if Jacoby continues on the path that from the 49ers game, they almost have no choice, sort of, in my view.
She is Karen Guregian. You can read her work, masslive.com. I actually just reshared that post on TC McCartney talking about Drake May, and you can follow her on Twitter at @KGuregian. Karen, thanks for joining us this morning.
Anytime, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
We'll get into Drake May next, actually, because I want to talk a little bit about the narrative there. I will also say I know this is the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. The hockey show is on Saturday mornings, not Sunday mornings. And by the way, congratulations to my co-host from 985thesportshub.com, Ty Anderson, on taking over the host of that. Hopefully Ty got up today early, too, because there is a report right now out there from NHL insider Elliot Friedman. Optimism this morning, Boston and Jeremy Swayman are coming to conclusion on a contract extension. So, again, not the hockey show. It is Sunday. It's not
breaking
Saturday.
News. Good
Your
news.
clock's right. But and we'll keep you updated if that deal gets done. But I just It is still 98.5 The Sports Hub. I wanted to make sure we got that update out there. But from one guy, fans are maybe frustrated about not seeing, to another. Let's talk about Drake May and his timeline to the starting position. We'll do that next on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the
for us earlier in the week. Jacoby Brissett, once again, is their starting quarterback. The team moving forward with him, as has been the case through the early course of the regular season. That said, it is very clear at some point, Drake May, the number 3 overall pick, is going to play. It just got a little complicated this week. David Andrews, their center, is out for the season with a shoulder injury. They want, when Drake May is out there, to put him in a position to succeed. They want to make sure that he is not only as ready, but someone who can hit the ground running and not have his growth stunted by a team around him offensively that really has struggled a little bit. It is a tough question the Patriots answered this week. Next week, Tom, they're going to still have that question. The following week, it is going to continue until we see May on the field.
That was Ian Rappaport Thursday night on where things stand between the Patriots and Drake May. That was after last Sunday. He said that May was a ways away from starting. He said that at about what, Ryan? Like 10:15 a.m.?
And never in time for
no,
show.
It reminds me, and you work on the Touch on Hardy program. I know that they have, this is kind of their thing too, right? There's something about
everything
like
breaks at like 10:05.
Yeah, so I sympathize with Fred and them here. It reminds last year when we were doing Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi each week. It was the same thing. We do this whole show about who should start and what's going to happen, and then like 10:05, here comes Ian Rappaport, and I get it. That's when their show starts. Maybe today, because it's early, there's a London game at 9:30. They go early, but can you give us one, Ian? Can you give us one update? But the latest, again, there is that, the Patriots are maybe uneasy about the offensive line. I get it. Losing a guy like David Andrews to help with your rookie quarterback, that's a blow. That's a legitimate blow. But we've gone from a ways away to, didn't that Rappaport report, whatever you want to call it, make it sound maybe a little more closer than not?
Yeah. I mean, I think it does. I mean, look, this is, if there was a betting line, it probably was on when Drake May would start. I think it would be around this time. Most people said week 5, week 4, week 5. And I think that was before we knew the Dolphins would completely fall apart because of the Tua situation. But I think this is when everybody had him playing. And yeah, I mean, I understand the injuries around him or whatever, but I think it's getting to the point, like we were just talking about with Karen Guregian, with Brissett, is getting to the point where you have no choice but to make this move. And I think it's way closer than, I think, I'm going to say anybody realizes, but I don't put it like this. I don't think the outcome of the game today makes a difference. I think they have a set date and a set time, and I think it's really close, probably within the next game or two.
So you think it's kind of, there's the one other thing I was going to ask you. I still think when they drafted him, I kind of used Halloween as that date. End of October, whatever you want to call it. Week 8, week 9 is the late. I said at some point in October, but that was kind of the later end. We're at the early end. He's not starting, so okay, it's not that. He's not starting today, pending a complete turnaround. And again, we'll probably hear from Ian Rappaport at like 10:07 a.m. But yeah, I still think late October. I still think he gets about half the season, give or take a game or two. I still think he gets about half the season. So I think we're getting there. The thing last week, a ways away, I think after Drake May came in that game against the Jets, there was a lot of external hype. And we talked about this earlier, that this is going to be a thing now, and players and coaches are being asked about it. And is it becoming a distraction and something the team has to deal with? I wonder if somebody inside the building just wanted to get it out there. Basically, hey, settle down. It's not happening yet.
Yeah.
And that's what that was. And now that that's reset, it's like, okay, but he's still making progress.
Yeah.
And just kind of playing that game there back and forth. That's kind of what I read the whole situation as.
Do you think, say if their say if their home away was reversed and they had 3 games at home, if 3 of those games was at home, with the home crowd, do you think they'd be able to stand their ground with fans booing and chanting and screaming this kid's name, as opposed to them really not being around, not being here, and not feeling the pressure of the fan base outside of sports radio, to put Drake May in the game? Do you think they can withstand everybody booing and cheering for Drake May for half a football game?
That's a great question, Cerrone. And to be honest, I don't know, because we really have nothing to go off of. This is going to be a very big early test for this coaching staff. Like, there's not a ton of history here to go off of. I know if it was Bill, no, because he didn't last year, chanting for Zappe starting from week 1. It took him a month and a half, 2 months it was into November, right? When he benched Mac Jones. At that point, that wasn't about the fans. Mac Jones was just broken. He waited until the situation on the field actually dictated it. Let's see what this coaching staff can do. Let's see what ownership can do. I remember saying this at the draft. If you draft a raw player and you plan to sit him for 2 months, that's great. You have to stick to that plan outside of external factors, because the noise is going to get loud, and the noise is starting to get very loud, as it did this week, as I experienced firsthand. It's the noise is getting loud, I guess, externally. But we'll see what happens, what the mood is like today, because you're right. They've only played one home game. It was a close game throughout. It was a game where they were coming off of a win. There wasn't a ton of incentive for the crowd to change. Now,
Brissett wasn't bad. He wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad. Now, they did boo in the preseason when they wouldn't put Drake May in at the home game. So it has happened. But that will certainly be something to watch for today.
And you mentioned Bill last year not caving to the fans. But I'm wondering, did Bill learn from what happened the previous year when I don't know if he caved to the fans, but that famous Bears game where the fans are chanting for Bailey Zappe, and he puts him out there. Zappe looks great on the first drive or two. Next thing you know, he's throwing interceptions. Do you think Bill learned from that moment and said, you know what, I'm never going to fall for that again? And last year kind of, I'm not making this switch or whatever. And like my point is could today be Mayo's Bears game? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to do it. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Bears game should be a tremendous, to put it lightly, learning experience. To put it not so lightly, warning sign of what can happen. I still stand by the takes, Cerrone, and I've been very strong on this.
Yeah.
Once you make the change,
that's it.
That's it. Now, you put Drake May in the fourth quarter of a blowout. That doesn't count. Once you have starting quarterback Drake May, right? Once you get the report from Ian Rappaport, Drake May is starting this week. That's it. He's now your starting quarterback. There's no hemming and hawing and back and forth. So if today makes them want to make the change and the crowd's too loud, like, don't dictate it on the crowd, dictate it on his internal development. Even if his internal development, all right, he's ready, he's going next week against Houston, the change has been made. You'd better be sure, because to me, the change has been made. Speaking of the Houston Texans, they got one of the big games of the week. What are the other big games of the week? We'll go around the league after this. Just the headlines, 90 seconds, no commercials, here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass. 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
We've got breaking Bruins news here to open up the headlines. According to at least Pierre LeBrun, I literally just opened Twitter, Jeremy Swayman signed 8 years, 8.25 per. Had it all the way, right? Never a doubt.
There's a video of him pulling into the parking lot.
Is there? All right,
on the Bruins Twitter account.
We can call that more or less confirmation. 66 million reasons, as Mike Cadley points out on Twitter, for Jeremy Swayman to be back. The Bruins also played their preseason finale yesterday. They lost 2-0 to the Washington Capitals. Football, it's Week 5 in the NFL. Week 5 for the Patriots. They welcome the Miami Dolphins to Gillette Stadium this afternoon. 1 o'clock kickoff with pregame coverage beginning at 10 on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Other notable NFL games today, the Vikings take on the Jets. That's coming up momentarily in London. Big game in the 1 o'clock window, the Bills and the Texans. 4 o'clock window highlighted by the Packers visiting the Rams. And at 8:20 tonight, the Dallas Cowboys take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. College football yesterday, nonsense. 5 of the top 11 teams going down, including number 1 Alabama, which lost at Vanderbilt 40-35. Locally, BC lost Virginia 24-14. 4 divisional series game 1s yesterday in Major League Baseball. Guardians, Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers all winning. 2 of those series resumed today with the Mets and Phillies and Padres and Dodgers. The New England Revolution lost 2-1 to DC United last night, and the Celtics resumed their preseason today in Abu Dhabi against the Denver Nuggets at 10 a.m. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10 o'clock.
Let's talk turkey, shall we?
Blah, 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 blah. Oh, in the sports industry, that's what you say.
Got your talking head right here, buddy.
98.5 The Sports Hub. It's never too early to talk football on Sunday.
Coming to the game on Sunday.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Pick a target.
You pick it.
Take your pick.
Pick me! Pick me! I did not pick. There was no pick.
Pick him up. You pick him up.
Pick.
I pick.
Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Take the teams.
Pick one, jerk.
Before we get into picks again, if you missed it, Elliot Freeman, the first to break it. Jeremy Swayman, a Boston Bruin for the next 8 years at 8.25 per. That's the contract. Ty Anderson will have more on 98.5 thesportshub.com. All right, Cerrone, let's get into these picks. We'll start with that Thursday night game that had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facing the Atlanta Falcons.
The throw from Cousins. It's caught at the 40. Moving upfield. Hodge. He could go. 10, 5, touchdown. That is a winner for the Atlanta Falcons.
36-30, Dirty Birds. They're back to, they won a couple big games now. Kirk Cousins leading all these late game comebacks. He did it on the road against Philly. Now he does it again. That's a fun Falcons team, man. That's a fun Falcons team.
That's a fun team to watch, man. And look, I know you've been on the Falcons a couple years, man. They're a good team. And look, man, I've been a fan of Kirk Cousins, and I didn't know until the other day he was one of he leads the league in fourth quarter comebacks for the last 3 years or something like that. But good win for them. Kirk Cousins out there throwing dimes, 500 yards and 4 touchdowns or something crazy against that defense. Good for them. Good for Atlanta. And hadn't been looking good for Baker since his comments about the locker room and the attitude of the players and all that stuff. But good game for Atlanta. And, man, I wouldn't want to play that team when they got it going.
Let's move on to today. This game kicks off in about 20 minutes over across the pond. The Jets, 2-2 Jets at the 4-0 Vikings.
How much psychedelic use is in the NFL? How many guys are using psychedelics?
I don't know. I mean, I talked recently about my own ayahuasca journey.
The Vikings, 2.5-point favorites against Rodgers, ayahuasca, and the Jets.
And look, the Jets need to win this game. I think Minnesota will probably end up winning this one. The Jets are kind of banged up, including Rodgers. I think he's dealing with some stuff right now. Jets need this one bad, but neutral site game like this, man, I don't know, man. Give me the Vikings, who seem to be rolling right now.
Yeah, I'll take the Vikings as well. All right, into the 1 o'clock slate. We'll start with the 2-2 Bears hosting the 1-3 Panthers.
A team that is known as the Bears. The Bears.
What do we call this? The Bryce Young Bowl, the Caleb Williams Bowl, the Picks Bowl, whatever it is, the Bears are 4.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I want to take the Bears in this one, but Carolina, since they've made the move to Dalton, has been a pretty good team. I mean, they lost last week, but they looked a lot better than they did the previous weeks when Bryce Young was there. And I think the Bears can't take this team lightly and make mistakes. And that being said, I think the Bears take them lightly and make mistakes. Give me Carolina.
I'm going to take the Bears. I think the shine starts to come off Andy Dalton this week. I think Caleb Williams is going to have some extra motivation in this one. Yeah, give me the Bears. AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens 2-2 at the Cincinnati Bengals 1-3.
There's nothing wrong with Ohio except the snow and the rain.
Somebody's going to come out of this game feeling like, all right, we're back on track. Here we go. Somebody's going to come out of this game very, very worried. The Ravens 2.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, I think the Bengals offense has gotten back to their identity. I think everybody's kind of healthy again, and they're at home and desperate. Give me Cincinnati in this one. I think they get a lead on Baltimore and make them a pass-first team. And we've seen what Baltimore looks like when they're a pass-first team. So I think Cincinnati wins this one at home.
I'm with you. Divisional game. I do think the Ravens started to figure it out last week. This is going to be a really fun game. But I think the Bengals just pull away with it. Big game in the AFC. 2-3-1 teams. The Bills at the Texans.
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Bills 1.5-point favorites on the road.
I think the winner of this game will be a team we'll believe in as a true AFC contender. This is a big game early in the season. And I'm going to take the home team. I'll take the Texans in this one. I think Josh Allen has a big game, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Texans offense puts up a ton of points in this one.
The Jaguars bringing back their throwback uniforms today, but that's pretty much all that's good as the 0-4 Jags host the 2-2 Colts.
You know Barth pretty well as well as I do, and him and I can get into some pretty heated debates and arguments over things.
Yeah, be careful, Cerrone. You never know what happens when you're on the air with me.
Hey, man, yeah.
The takes just start flying. Everybody here got to respond to that except for me. I had to. You never know. Be careful when you're on the air with me. I bring it out of people, I guess.
No,
anyway, the
good,
Jags. Do you have a hot take on this one? It's the Jags 3.5-point favorites at 0-4.
Yeah, they don't need them throwback uniforms. They need Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell, and Fred Taylor. But
how about Mark Brunell?
And Mark Brunell, all of them. They need this one bad, man. And I think from what I was seeing earlier, I think it's going to be pouring rain out there today, too, the great equalizer. So they need this one bad. I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to win it, but I'm not that confident.
Kendra Middleton in attendance. Give me the Jags as well. I think this is just a backup against the wall team. If they lose today, you start talking about coach and quarterback. It's that kind of game.
Yeah. Mac Jones coming to Foxborough in a few weeks, man.
We already talked a lot about the Patriots and the Dolphins. We'll get more into that later. So let's skip ahead to the 3-1 Washington Commanders hosting the 1-3 Cleveland Browns.
Touchdown, Washington!
Unreal! People were high on the Browns coming into the season. I don't know why. A lot of people probably thought this would be flipped, but no, it's the Commanders as 3.5-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, Commanders, man, the offense been clicking. The quarterback's completing like 85% of his throws or something crazy like that. They're not even punting. Give me Washington until Cleveland proves otherwise. I mean, I think Washington's a better team, and they got more momentum and confidence right now than the Browns do.
I'm with you taking Washington, but it's more about the Browns to me. And I don't disagree with what you said about the Commanders, like the offense is clicking and all that, but whatever the opposite of clicking is, that's what's going on in Cleveland. It's kind of a mess there right now. Into the 4 o'clock window, a couple of 2-2 AFC West teams with the Raiders visiting the Broncos.
And I'm answering the question. Be quiet. I'm answering the question. Be quiet. You asked a question. I'm answering it. You let me finish? That's what I'm doing. Trying to.
Who was that, Ryan?
That was Sean Payton. Just getting mad at a reporter.
He losing control there a little bit. Bo Nix.
Has he ever had it?
Bo Nix versus Gardner Minshew. Lowest total of the week, 35.5 points. Broncos 3.5-point favorites.
Do you know what? I think the Broncos are going to win this game because of all the stuff going on with the Raiders and Adams and the head coach saying stuff about the players. You talk about not being right, man. I think they go out there and get cooked today by the Broncos.
I actually think the Raiders win because all that's going on with the coach and the receivers and the quarterback position. I think there's other guys like, we're here too. You know, either, hey, let's make a statement, let's get this back on track, or at the very least, I got to start showing off so I can get out of here in the offseason. So I like the Raiders definitely to cover, if not to win. Let's move on to the 2-2 Niners at the 1-3 Cardinals.
Oh, man.
That was a good one. What was that in response to last week?
It was definitely like the game with like the largest spread, or just the one we thought was going to be like least entertaining.
Oh yeah, it was Titans Dolphins. It was me asking
Titans Dolphins. Yeah,
if he's excited to watch Titans Dolphins. I think that reaction was fair for you, Cerrone. I would say that was a correct. That those noises were a correct take from you.
Yeah, that was me watching the game.
So fittingly, largest spread of the week. Niners 7.5-point favorites. On top of that, you don't see this that much. This is the largest spread of the week. It's also the highest total of the week at 50 points. So Vegas expecting a blowout of the Niners over the Cardinals.
Yeah, give me the Niners, man. It's like if they're not throwing to Marvin Harrison, this is a mess. It's just give me the Niners in that one. And yeah, I mean, division game, but still, give me the Niners to win this one and win it big.
I think the Niners win. I actually think the Cardinals cover. I just have a rule of thumb, like divisional games, regardless of what the matchup looks like, usually end up close. So Niners are winning. I don't think the Cardinals pulling off the upset in San Francisco. Do they make them sweat it out a little bit? I could see that. Staying in the NFC, 2-2 Packers at 1-3 Rams.
Oh, shove it up your ass, Alex Barth.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That was a good. What was that about? That was something about the quarterback. Oh, that was about me saying last year. I agreed with him. That was about me last year saying that tanking's not real. Packers, Felger's Packers, 3.5-point favorites on the road at the Rams.
Yeah, give me the Packers. Rams they're beat up right now. As usual, the receivers are beat up. Cooper Kupp is out again, and just give me the Packers, even though they got their own kind of receiver situation going on there. It's kind of weird, but give me the Packers in this one.
I'll take the Packers as well. It's not a real road game when you're playing the Rams anyway. I'll take the Packers in that one. Final 4 o'clock game, 1-3 Giants at the 3-1 Seahawks.
The folks you said had written you off, maybe? What do you say to them?
Yeah, they wrote me off. I ain't right back, though.
That was a great quote. That was awesome. Seahawks, 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, give me the Seahawks in this one. My boy Neighbors is out. My fantasy star, he's out, man. I'm hurting bad. Give me Neighbors in this one, and the Giants. I think they get beat down pretty badly today.
That Giants team is not good. They're not good. They're plain and simple. They're not good. They got to go to the other coast, play a team that's coming into this, get one fired up. I'll take the Seahawks. I'm with you there, Cerrone. Tonight, this is. You grew up in the 70s and the 80s. This one's for you. The Cowboys at the Steelers.
I always wanted to own the Dallas Cowboys.
2-2 Cowboys, 3-1 Steelers. Steelers 2.5-point favorites.
Man, as much as I want to pick the Steelers in this one, I don't trust Justin Fields week to week. I think the Dallas defense can force them into some turnovers. I know they got some injury issues they're dealing with, but I got the Cowboys winning this one in a low-scoring game, 17-14 or something like that.
It totals 44, so I'm with you on the Cowboys. I know that they've looked shaky, and I know it's the Cowboys, and I know I shouldn't trust the Cowboys. And look, I'm not picking the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl or anything. Don't construe it that way. That team's just too talented to go out like this.
Yeah.
To just kind of sputter at 500 all year. They're going to get a bump at some point. Tonight's as good a night as any to do it, so I'm going to take the Cowboys as well. And then tomorrow night, would you believe it? Here we go again. Chiefs in prime time. Whoopee. 2-2 Saints at 4-0 Chiefs. Chiefs 5.5-point favorites at home.
I think the Saints win this one. I think the Chiefs, man, them injuries are going to start piling up eventually. I know it's Pat Mahomes who's turning the ball over like crazy. I think the Saints, with that explosive offense, put up enough points to where the Chiefs it's hard to say this. The Chiefs won't be able to keep up. I think losing Rice is way bigger than I think people are giving credit to, because I think he was the one guy that was making plays for them, even when Kelsey wasn't doing much. And I just think the Saints are going to make too many plays for the Chiefs to keep up.
Everything they said about Brady, check down merchant, screen merchant, help from the refs, gets lucky in terms of not too many turnovers. Yeah. It's all true about Patrick Mahomes. It has all come true about Patrick Mahomes. That being said, I think the Chiefs win this one. That Saints game against the Eagles the other week scared me off of picking them. Their floor is low, man. Their ceiling's high, but their floor is low. I'll take the Chiefs. And hey, we actually have bye weeks this week. So remember, if you're setting your fantasy lineup and you really only have 15 minutes to do it with this game in London this morning, we do start buys this week. Detroit, the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Titans all on buys. Boy, does Tennessee need that bye. That team is in a rough spot. That's going around the league. Look, it's only week 5. Trade deadline still a ways away, but starting to get some trade rumors involving wide receivers. Yes, Devontae Adams. There actually might be a Patriots receiver on the block. We'll get to that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
You know Barth pretty well, as well as I do.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
98.5.
Patriots and Dolphins in Foxborough. On your home for the Pats, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
He begins the approach with a run-up and a swing hard leg.
Every football game starts with the kickoff. This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on your home for Patriots football. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Jacoby left foot forward, takes the head-high snap with a twist up front. Quick throw right, and on the slant, Thornton makes the catch. He's able to hang on with a tough grab. Hill on his back, and Tyquan Thornton reaches the 24-yard line. So the Patriots pick up 10. Pick up 10 back in range. If you had told me a year ago you'd be sitting here in Cincinnati week 1 and Jacoby Brissett would be firing slants to Tyquan Thornton to get you back the convertible third down, I'd tell you you're crazy. But here we are.
That Tyquan Thornton in the news this week. It's against Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Supposedly available for trade. Now, not entirely surprising. Kendrick Bourne comes back. The Patriots don't remove a wide receiver from their roster. So that's a very crowded room right now. 7 deep, if I'm counting right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deep at wide receiver. You got to thin that out a little bit. But it just kind of begs it. Like, it's interesting by the Patriots. We wondered who the odd man out was going to be. Some people thought maybe Kayshon Boutte. I know there's been some talk about Javon Baker, and obviously he's had a rough start here, but you just used a 4th-round pick on the guy. You're going to give him a year. But after, in training camp, the team sounded very high on Tyquan Thornton. He might be the guy that's on the way out.
Yeah, I mean, they go back and watch film. They see things that, beyond what we see, or guys like you guys do a great job digging in and going over film and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they see Tyquan maybe not getting the separation like some of the other guys on the team have, even in practice situations, in-game situations. And they're like, you know what? I guess we've seen enough of this kid. We've seen him for a couple years now, and he's not separating himself from the rest of the group, plus the injury history in the past. And he might be the one guy that has value if we trade him. Like, we can get something for him. Maybe somebody out there thinks they can do something with him, with a guy with that kind of speed, or just looking for a downfield threat that can run 30 miles an hour with pads on. And, I think he just has that value and just isn't standing out when it comes to this team. So he's the odd man out. Like you said, they're not going to get rid of Baker. He's right. It's 4 games in. Offense is sputtering. Offensive line is bad. They're not playing with the best quarterback that they just picked up. So they're going to give him a chance. But, yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy they get value for, and the guys they've seen enough of. So, yeah, I understand it. Especially, like you said, with Bourne coming back. I mean, what has he shown in 4 games that says, keep him around a little longer? It's a tough spot for him. But, yeah, he has some value, so I can see why he's on the block.
All right, speaking of playing the best quarterback, I just went on that whole rant about how we never get any breaking quarterback news during the show. It's only right after. But I just saw this when we were coming back from break. So I haven't heard this. I just saw a little bit of the quote. But this was Albert Breer on NBC Sports Boston, probably within the last 10 minutes. And Ryan said it's worth airing. So let's hear what he had to say about the Drake May situation.
I'm told he is closing in now on being the best quarterback on the team. And so what does this mean going forward? Well, players can tell and see the drumbeat for where this is going. I think what this is going to come down to now is when he does wind up passing Jacoby Brissett and other people can see that he's the best quarterback on the team, is the team ready to support him?
So the one other part of the quote that's in there that I just see that NBC Sports Boston tweeted out, that Breer said, where May's made strides over the last couple of weeks is in blitz situations, and teams are blitzing the crap out of the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Like the Niners, traditionally a defense that doesn't blitz. It's just part of their philosophy. They sent the dogs last week. The Jets did something similar. Yeah. We'll probably see it again today. So the fact he's getting better against the blitz is big. The Breer says they're closing in on being the better quarterback, so that goes back to some of the stuff we heard at the end of camp and the way they were positioning the two of them. But I said it in the last, or when we talked about Drake May before, Cerrone, that it feels like sooner rather than later. Maybe not soon, but sooner rather than later. And I would feel like that backs that up, right?
Yeah. I mean, after hearing these reports of the last couple of weeks, not just this one, but when you guys were there practicing, talking to players and coaches saying how May's making these wild plays and got the defensive coordinators oohing and on and stuff like that. It's just week after week of just getting proven. How much longer can Mayo stand at that podium in front of you guys and say, Jacoby Brissett gives us the best chance of winning, before you say, come on, man? Like, how many times can he, how much longer can he say that and it still have meaning behind it after hearing these reports from you, others, and guys that are there, Breer, whoever, about the progression of May? How many times can he say that before you guys roll your eyes and say, you know what, man, it's not what I'm seeing and not what I'm hearing from the players and all the reports. And I think Brissett is a twisted ankle away from never playing quarterback again for the New England Patriots. That's what that sounds like to me.
Look, for whatever happens, I'm just going to say this, and this doesn't mean that he should necessarily start the whole year or anything like that, but
yeah,
Jacoby Brissett deserves a ton of credit for this season.
He's taking a beating.
He's taking an absolute beating. Every time he gets hit, Cerrone, he gets up a little bit slower, but he is still getting up. And he's handled it as a pro. He's handled it all maturely. He has, he could easily get annoyed, not just with the situation, but with the questions about it. And I think he's handled it like a professional, like a veteran. He's been lighthearted about it at times too, which I think helps. He deserves a ton of credit for what happens this season. Yeah, it doesn't mean he should start the whole year or anything like that, but just from an individual human basis, I think he's handled this well. But let's circle back to something again. So if it's going to be Drake May sooner than later, and we go back to the Tyquan Thornton trade, I don't know what you want to call it, rumor, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When, if at all, do the Patriots think about selling? And I don't necessarily think trading Tyquan Thornton constitutes the team selling at the deadline, if that's their one move. Like, technically, I guess they're selling, but he's one player at a crowded position who's not playing a ton anyway. That's different than, I'm talking about some of these guys that are in contract years or just veterans who maybe have some value that you can get something for. A guy I look at, and I know he's a captain, but I look at a guy like Dietrich Wise who's in the last year of his contract, and you can maybe get something for him. Or a guy like KJ Osborne, who's on a one-year deal and is a veteran and will maybe get you something. A guy like Josh Uche. And this is why I bring this up. They didn't sell last year. They probably could have gotten a decent pick for Josh Uche, top 150 pick. They elect to keep him. They bring him back, and he's now playing very poorly. So when do you think is the right time for the Patriots to talk about potentially selling? Or, and there's another angle here, at least with some of the offensive guys, do you not sell because, yeah, right, we're not going to win a Super Bowl, but we don't want to tear this thing down too much around Drake May?
How many more weeks they have to the deadline?
What's the deadline? I think it's the first week in November now. They move it every year.
So I think they you wait and see. If the move is May, you put May out there. And
the
also
trade deadline, by the way, November 5th. So they literally a month from yesterday.
All right, so you got 3-4 games you can get in. I think they wait and see what this thing looks like. 4 games. You see what October looks like. If you can, I know the Texas game is going to be tough, but you can win. If you win the winnable games, I think it changes their whole mindset of how, I'm not saying they're going to go make the playoffs and make a run, nothing like that, but I think they view this entire situation differently if they go out there and win some of these games. And if May is the quarterback for these next 4 games or so, let's just say, and now the offense looks this way or that way, and all of a sudden things look different around here, I think it changes their whole philosophy. Now they go out there and go 2-2 over these next couple games, or 1-3 again, another month. I think they become sellers almost immediately after that and start selling off whatever they can to pick up draft picks. I think this month determines the fate of this team going forward is all in October.
Real quick, you have any interest in Devontae Adams to the Patriots in theory?
Man, I would, but if it was Drake May, yeah.
Well, it'll be. It'll be Drake May at some point. It'll be Drake May at some point.
If you get, we all seen the documentary or whatever, the thing with the wide receivers and Devontae Adams dealing with Jimmy Garoppolo and how that worked out. How is he going to handle this offensive situation here with this fan base and all that other stuff? I would want him because he's talented, but not in this situation. I don't think it would benefit him at all.
Well, I think the situation is why he's not coming. Like he's not coming. He's looking for quarterback stability.
Yeah.
The Patriots might have a better quarterback situation than the Raiders just because they have Drake May waiting.
Yeah.
But better quarterback situation than the Raiders doesn't say much. It's a bottom 5 quarterback situation in the league right now. If you could flip a third for him, in theory, I would do it. I know he's a little bit older. Maybe he's not that long-term answer, but is he a bridge that gets you to the long-term answer? Maybe you take a tackle in the first round. Now you can take a guy in the second, and you have a year to kind of get him ready because Devontae Adams is out there dictating coverage and things like that. As for what he'll go for, I know the report was the Raiders want a second. That's nice. We can all want things.
Yeah.
The further reporting was the market might be closer to a third and something else. I don't know, Cerrone. If it was back in August, and I said you could trade Matthew Judon for Devontae Adams straight up.
Oh, yeah.
I think Patriots fans would have been all over that. And that's, to me, like if you can trade that pick, I would do that, but it doesn't matter because he's not coming here. So he wants a quarterback. Sounds like Jets, Ravens would be very interesting. Some people have floated the Packers. All make much more sense for Devontae Adams than the Patriots. That doesn't mean that Elliott Wolf shouldn't do his job and pick up the phone and make the call.
Yeah.
You make the call and you see. But I can't imagine that discussion gets very far. Well, it's nice to think about, but we'll bring it back to reality, and we'll talk more about this Patriots-Dolphins game coming up next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
New England Coffee's new single serve.
Everywhere you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle are here, talking football every Sunday morning with the insiders and with you. It's Sunday Kickoff on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Look, excited to get back on the practice field and go out there and compete and get ready to play against a good football team. Don't want to sleep on these guys. I know they had some struggles and things like that, but this is still a very good football team with weapons across the board, offensively, defensively, and also special teams. So, like I said, excited. I think the guys, they came in today. We changed the page. We're moving forward. We understand what we have to do to win this game, and just like every week, we have those targets out there. We just have to go out there and execute and hit those targets, and that's what we fully anticipate.
Cerrone Mayo on the Dolphins this week. Obviously, even with their quarterback situation, a lot of playmakers on that team. How the Patriots going to handle them. I'll say this. I was going to kind of get in the matchup here, Cerrone, and my big one was going to be do not let Tyler Huntley break contain. And we get a call. Dean in Shrewsbury, I think, might be thinking something similar. Dean, good morning.
Good morning. So I was wondering how much Josh Uche is struggling because Keon White on the other side is just freelancing and maybe disrupting the plan of the defensive line.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. Honestly, Uche's kind of struggled with some of that too. He's getting way up the field. I think everybody up front is maybe trying to do a little more than they should right now. It's not that do your job 1/11th kind of defense, but they've got to get right today because the one thing you cannot have against this Dolphins team, Cerrone, is broken plays. To me, the Patriots game plan defensively in this one, this is as much of a bend don't break game as there ever was. Make Tyler Huntley beat you with 1,000 paper cuts. Make him nickel and dime his way up the field, 10, 12, 15 play drives without any mistakes. Because you can get him to trip and fall into a mistake. The way you're going to do that is the more plays you get. 180-yard bomb, the Tyreek Hill is not going to do that. So keep Huntley in the pocket, keep contained, don't let him create with his legs, and make him take what you're giving him and not any more than that. I think that's big for the Patriots defense today.
Yeah, I think a similar situation to what you saw in week 2 against the Seahawks, where I know they did it with Geno Smith, but he was able to make those plays. 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, he kept making them over and over and over again. And they made the Seahawks march. And I think the Seahawks they scored 2 touchdowns or something like that game. Offensive touchdowns, a ton of field goals. But make them march downfield. And like you said, see if he can do it without making mistakes. Okay, he did it this drive. Do it again. See if you can get a 12-play drive on us. And I wouldn't take chances because, again, with the speed, this team could probably win the gold medal in the 4x100, whatever, with the players they have. You don't want to get caught slipping on a quick slant that they take to the house. And like we mentioned earlier, that can be the one play to win the game and end it because their pass defense, I think, has been pretty good, even though teams, I think, have probably been running on them late because it's been over with. You don't want to get in a situation where you become one-dimensional. So I think you got to run the ball, keep them off the field, and you hit the nail on the head, man. Make these guys march and take their time and see if they can do it mistake-free and avoid 3-and-outs along the way and not make mistakes holding, any type of illegal formation penalties that everybody's getting nailed with. See if they can have several clean drives to beat you on the road and without losing, without getting discouraged. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that, man. Make these guys march.
On the offensive side of the ball, I mean, here we go again. It's the offensive line, right? Now, they're going to have a couple guys potentially back in their proper positions. Cerrone Mayo said this week, compared it to musical chairs, and they're waiting to see how some guys responded to practice on Friday, but maybe Vidarian Lowe comes back at left tackle. We did see Mike Onwenu practice, take a couple snaps at right guard. Scott Peters told us on Friday, and I thought this was notable. Scott Peters said on Friday that they see Mike Onwenu as a guard long-term, which I think is great because he is. This week may not be the week they make that switch just because they still don't necessarily have the depth of tackle to do it unless they want to play DeMontre Jacobs on the right side. And even to do that, Vidarian Lowe needs to be healthy. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be, it could be another fire drill up front. You're going to have to be able to run the ball. And Last week they said the coaches talked about to get the ball out of your hands quick kind of week, and Jacoby Brissett didn't do that. Maybe having Kendrick Bourne back helps. Maybe Pop Douglas being more involved helps. But they're going to need to help Jacoby Brissett out a lot today because once again, and that's all to say. I didn't even mention you don't have David Andrews up front setting protection. You don't have that steadying veteran presence. Nick Leverett was good filling in last week, but he struggled at the end of the preseason. He's still kind of an unknown.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is how much are they going to discipline Ramondre Stevenson?
Yeah.
Is he just going to be out of play, a series, or whatever? Because I think the ground game is ultra important in this game, like most of these games this season. Establish the run, kill clock, time of possession has to be in your favor by a lot, I think. And if you're running the ball, now you're getting into play action and stuff like that. It actually might work, and I think that'll buy time for the passing game for Bourne, Pop Douglas, Polk, the tight ends especially. I think you have to run the ball early and often against this team to show some kind of balance, so they can't just tee off on Brissett. Because right now he's like Kenny in South Park. You just know he's gonna die. You just don't know when. It's just he's just back there like, oh God, they killed Jacoby. But
that's a good one. I hadn't heard that. That's a good one.
You know it's coming, but you have to run the ball to kind of prevent that as much as you can and show some kind of balance at home and just take advantage of this team while they're down. You have to run the football.
You mentioned Stevenson. So Gerard Mayo said this week on All Access, said it's Scott Zolak, Stevenson's not going to start, but he is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
That can mean a lot of things. Does he play 10 snaps, or is this kind of one of those college football like slap on the wrist penalties? He's not going to start. He's not going to play the first drive, but he's going to be the feature back after that.
Yeah.
They didn't elevate any running backs, so it's him, it's Antonio Gibson, it's JaMychal Hasty. Those are the guys again this week. Hasty and Gibson, and especially Gibson's a good back, and he's he's had a good start to the year for what this all is. You know, I've liked what I've seen from him, but he's not a volume back.
Yeah.
Do you like how they're handling Stevenson, and do you think this is the right move to say, all right, well, we're not going to start you, but you're still going to play and potentially play a good amount? And what happens if he fumbles again today?
Yeah. Well, I think then if that happens, you got some serious issues. But I think he understands some kind of discipline has to come. I mean, you put the ball in the game every game this season. Something he has to know and can't be like, man, why are you punishing me? He has to understand that, and for that job and that position, you can't put the ball on the floor. But I think they're not going to overly punish him because I don't think they have the talent to be sitting guys. I don't think they're good enough to be like, well, you just sit over there and we'll figure this thing out. Gibson's been good. Drives me crazy. He never puts his mouthpiece in. I don't know why. It's just he's always hanging. It's like, yo, you're a running back.
A lot of guys do that now, though. You have the guys with the two.
Yeah,
you've seen that, which I don't get that. I guess it looks cool, but I don't get that one.
I saw if anybody saw the NC State game yesterday, a guy running with his helmet not strapped on is a bad thing. And quarterback from NC State got his helmet knocked off and then got hit head to helmet right after. So that's yeah. It bothers me with him with the mouthpiece. But anyway, he's a good player. He's been better than I thought he was going to be. Had some big runs, I think he's got the biggest plays they've had on offense. But I think Stevenson has to play a lot, and he's going to have to get over and figure out a way to hold on to the football.
I'll say this on Stevenson, and you kind of alluded to it there. He's putting the coaching staff in a really tough position because on one hand, you can't let the guy fumble without consequence, and it doesn't send a great message to the room. And as Gerard Mayo and others pointed out after that game last week, they simply don't have the margin of error on offense to survive turnovers. You can't be putting the ball on the ground. But Stevenson is objectively one of their two best playmakers. And the other guy, Pop Douglas, they don't seem to have a lot of interest in using. And for a team that wants to be run heavy, you need guys that can create at the running back position. I'm not saying Gibson can't do that, but Stevenson does it at another level. So you have to now straddle and walk this fine line of, we can't let this guy fumble once a week without consequence. But also, what happens to our offense when he's not in the game, especially before Drake May? Like, when Drake May gets in there, maybe you get a little more boost from the passing game. It becomes a little easier to stomach. But it's a tough test. Ramondre Stevenson's situation right now is a really tough test for Alex Van Pelt and his coaching staff.
Yeah, and I think look, I think even with the fumble issues and him might be sitting to play a series or whatever, a quarter, I think the running game has a good day today. I think they get off and they kind of set the tone on this team and get some big plays. I don't know how much will the Miami Dolphins have right now. I don't know how many guys on defense are willing to get out there and make those open field plays and go the extra mile like you were dealing with San Fran and the Jets and the Seahawks defenses. I think their mindset is similar to Cincinnati going out there. Well, we don't know if Chase is going to play. T. Higgins is not here. They got some injuries. Burrow's wrist is kind of bothering him a little bit. They didn't really show any fire or fight. I don't know how much fight Miami has on the road today in this situation, and I think they're going to be able to push this team around in the trenches.
Patriots-Dolphins coming up. Patriots preview with Jim Murray and Chris Gasper gets underway at 10 o'clock, so a little under 15 minutes away from that. Bob and Zoe will have the call. Joe Murray and Leroy Irvin will be with you post-game. But we got to wrap it up first here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Game picks coming up after this.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports. Miami Dolphins.
Fires to the end zone. Touchdown.
Pre-game with Jim Murray and Chris Gasper from Splitsville starts at 10 a.m. Kickoff with Bob and Zoe is at 1 on the Safety Insurance 98.5, the Sports on Patriots Radio Network. The Patriots and Dolphins in Foxborough. On your home for the Pats, 98.5, the Sports Hub. You're listening to Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on your station for the best football coverage. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Patriots-Dolphins coming up. Again, pregame starts at 10 o'clock. Jim Murray, Chris Gasper down at Gillette Stadium. They'll have you a whole host of guests as well. Bob and Zoe, the call of kickoff at 1, and then Joe Murray and Leroy Irvin will be back for postgame immediately following kickoff. But let's wrap things up here, Cerrone. Who you got today?
I think the Patriots get Miami at the perfect time. I think they win this one. I'm going to say they get 20 up. I think they win this one like 20-13 or something like that. I think Sly gets a lot of fantasy points. I think they get in field goal range a lot today. And I mean, we didn't talk about this dude making 63-yard field goals, but anyway, I think he's a busy man today. I think they get the W. Miami, they're a mess right now, and I don't know how they get out of it beyond Tua. And I don't know how much fight they have and how much they really are trying to go out there and get a W today.
So I think, what'd you say, 2016?
I said 2013.
2013?
Yeah.
I honestly think that might be a little generous. It just to both teams. This game reminds me a little bit of, or I think will remind me of, do you remember the Jets game here in 2022 with the Marcus Jones punt return?
Yeah, that was the only real action.
Right. Each team kicked a field goal in the second quarter, and then that was it. The Patriots, I have it right here. The Patriots had 297 total yards. The Jets had 103.
Yeah.
We could be in for a game like that today. I really think we could. And that's why there's not a big margin for error for either of these teams. Mm-hmm. One big play could decide it. And that could come anywhere. That could be a big pass. That could be a big run. I think a turnover. Like, if a defense can score or at least set the offense up with a short field, and shocker, turnovers change football games. But to me, in this game, it's emphatic. Even on special teams, I kind of mentioned this earlier in passing. Braxton Berrios has been banged up. I wonder if Tyreek Hill, maybe not every punt, but I wonder if they put Tyreek Hill back there to return punts, one or two punts today, just because they clearly need a spark. Because that offense isn't clicking. Now, Tyler Huntley didn't get there till September 16th. Now, another week of practice. Maybe they take a step further, but it's just a weird spot. One big play I think is going to decide this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to, I know there's more scoring in the game, but the Seahawks game basically was the blown coverage to Metcalf. That was it. Or the tipped field goal, 1 to 2. But it was those are the plays that swung the game. And you can't have blown coverage. You can't have, Huntley getting out, breaking a tackle, and he's streaking up the sidelines. You can't have those type of mistakes. Same thing for Miami. You can't let the Patriots. We're talking about Tyquan Thornton getting traded, and he's the one guy that gets behind the defense, and Brissett finds him. It's one play is going to swing the game. But Miami, I think they're in the world of hurt, and I think the Patriots at home is what they needed right now, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball on this team, get a lead, and hold it. And I got the Patriots winning this one today.
So I'm with you. I think the Patriots win. I realize I didn't give a pick, but sorry, you said 2013?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 13-6.
13-6.
I'm with you. I think Joey Sly's busy. And I'll say
nice
this.
Out, though. There's no rain.
I don't think there was rain that day. That day,
it wasn't.
40,
it was
I have it right here. 42 degrees, 2-mile-an-hour wind, cloudy. So it's going to be a little bit warmer today. A little bit warmer. It was cold when I woke up this morning. It's the first time it's been like cold. No, it's going to be like 65
perfect
at kickoff.
Day
yeah, perfect day for football. Perfect day for a 13-6 game. I think Sly's going to be busy. I'll say that the Patriots special teams last week was excellent again. Excellent. Yeah. Bryce Behringer, Joey Sly, Christian Ellis was really good, Brendan Schooler. So they have something going there. They'll need them today.
Yeah, they're going to need all of that.
This is the kind of game that a special teams unit can absolutely flip. But yeah, I'm 13-6, even on a beautiful day down in Gillette. What do you think crowd's going to be like today, real quick, in terms of size and energy?
I think it's going to be packed. I think there's going to be energy there. I think people, going to get out to a game, good weather game, 1:00 game. I think it's Miami. There's going to be a lot of Dolphins fans. They show up.
Yeah, it's true.
I think it's going to be a good game and a good atmosphere. And I think a win would be pretty good for them right now. So I think it's going to be a good atmosphere. And if it's packed and it starts looking bad, you're going to hear it, because I think it's going to be a lot of people out there today.
All right, so a chance for the Patriots to energize the fan base one way or the other.
One way
or the other today down there at Gillette Stadium. Again, coverage all day on 98.5 The Sports Hub. If you missed any of this show and you want to catch it, you can check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, whatever platform you get your podcast. Ryan Beaton does a great job overall, but part of why he does a great job, he gets that right up and posted. You can also find the replay of the show on the Sports Hub YouTube channel. You can also find, by the way, the Sports Hub Patriots podcast, which will have a reaction episode up tomorrow. Myself, Matt Dolph, will have coverage throughout the day on 98.5thesportshub.com. On the air, we've got pregame coming up next with Jim Murray and Chris Gasper down at Gillette. Bob and Zoe of the call with kickoff at 1:00. And then it's Joe Murray and Leroy Irvin tonight, or after the game this afternoon. They'll have you then. So we'll be back again next week for Patriots-Texans. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. Drake May conversation maybe heating up, things like that. I said that last week, and honestly, we didn't do a ton of Drake May today. So see what this game brings for the Patriots quarterback position. For more, you can follow me on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. He is at Cerrone_battle. Thanks so much for joining us. Patriots preview coming up next. I'll talk to you from Gillette later on. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy the game.
WBCFM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass. 98.5